Welcome back, folks. You are tuning in to ESPN. This is Mike King Biz Radio, ESPN RVA 106.1 FM. And yes, I know it's Wednesday, folks. Had a lot of challenges yesterday, and learn how to surf on tsunamis, right, folks? That's what it's all about. It's just my turn. So we're here today. If you're on the radio, listening, tuning in, man, this is a special treat, folks. No kidding. Today's climate, perceived challenges, competition, everything seems to be in disarray. And we got somebody who's been there, done that, and he knows how to help you with it. So we're going to talk about defense to offense, your growth strategy for tough times. It seems tough for many people. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Let's run the intro and let's get this party started, folks.
Looks like your business might be in a bit of a pickle. Don't you worry about a thing. You ain't alone in this. You're just a success story waiting to happen. Trust me on that. Every bump in the road is just an opportunity wearing a clever disguise. Welcome to the Hounds of Business Community, where we don't just sit around twiddling our thumbs. Nope. We turn those obstacles into mighty fine stepping stones. This here's a place where high-level entrepreneurs and sharp professionals gather to grow their businesses and mindsets, kind of like how a good old gumbo needs the right ingredients to be something special. Ideas thrive here, and collaborations, well, they're as natural as sweet tea on a hot day. Success, it's a journey, and we're fixing to walk that road right beside you. Now, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn for all the latest tips and insights. We're talking about the kind of wisdom that'll keep you ahead of the game. And while you're at it, head on over to our YouTube channel. We've got ourselves a treasure trove of videos, from expert interviews to webinars, everything you need to stay sharp in this fast-moving world of business. The Hounds of Business Community? Well, we ain't just a network, we're a movement. So why not come on and be part of something bigger? Join us today and let's turn your business journey into a real Southern success story. Together, we'll achieve greatness, just like crawfish and singing on a Friday night.
All right, well, let's bring him up. And I always butcher his last name, so we'll ask him how to say it correctly. But let's see if he knows about crawfish and singing on a Friday night. Let's bring him up. Phil, how are you today, my friend?
I'm good. How you doing, Mike?
Good. How do you say your last name? Because I can't. I'm a broken speak and spell.
So phonetically it'd be like T-A-T-R-O, Tetreault.
Tetreault, okay. I'll just call you Phil. How's that?
There you go. Phil works.
There you go. So if you all don't know Phil, he's a fairly new hound, high-level man. And, it's like when you meet another Olympic athlete in ping pong and they hit the ball and you're like, oh, my God, this person knows. That's how I felt about Phil, everybody. So that's why he's here. He's got a great track record, works with some of the biggest companies, and now it's affordable and accessible to companies of all sizes, really. I mean, honestly. So let's get into it, Phil. Appreciate you being here, my friend. Love having you in the Hounds of Business. So I got to know. So you start with the story. This caught my attention. You were at Oracle, right? I think most people know that's a pretty good company, right? Pretty big, pioneer in the industry. Watching your sales team consistently lose deals across the board, not just at Oracle, but you've seen this in your vast experience, right? Lots of things, cheaper competitors, cheaper products. And I've been there myself. A lot of folks have been there. So what was going through your mind during that time, right? Because you transitioned. And when did you finally say, man, there's got to be a better approach? We just can't keep losing and bleeding and competing on this level.
So one of the first things you think about when you're losing is why. And right, I'm big, in recent days or times, right, the Simon Sinek book, right, asking that why question. But I was doing this back in the early 2000s, right? Why is this happening? Why are we doing it? And there's a couple of ways you look at it. One is it's process oriented, but the other side of it is looking at the value side of the equation. Is the client that you're working with understanding? Is the competitor doing a better job of communicating value? And within that, is that now allowing them? So I might be more expensive, I might be less expensive, but if I'm doing a better job of understanding the problem that you're trying to address and the value that I'm going to receive, now I've got a better position in the client's mind. So what we started to focus on was how we went out there and not only position our value, because that's just like selling something, but you got to begin with the learning part of it. Let me understand what you're trying to do. Where are you trying to get to? When are you trying to get there? And then why are you doing that? What are the drivers behind it? So when I get that and I start to shift that into into selling, I've got a lot more information that's tangible and relevant to you to create the outcome that you desire. So we really looked at becoming more knowledgeable. And when I look at offense and defense, you react, right? So in a reactionary world, I drop price, I do this, I do that, I do things that maybe are not natural in my motion. But on offense, I'm proactive. So I'm learning, I'm listening, I'm engaging before I do any selling. So when we get to a future point in the sales cycle, you want to buy from me. I'm not selling you anything at that point.
And see, that's why, man, we're birds of a feather. In this mindset mentality, that's why I had to have you out here, Phil. You've been there, done that, and you understand the principles. And I love what you said, because I see it across the board. This is what I do. People are backlogged, right? They can't pay invoices because their invoices aren't getting paid. They're reacting, they're discounting. And then you look at some other circles and they're thriving. They're breaking records. And they're not discounting, they're partnering, they're innovating, they're splitting their product up and they're customizing it, right? That's what you're talking about. So no matter what industry, what levels, there is a way to not, as I call it, not so eloquently, you turn dog poo into fertilizer, right? Take something that you're like, oh, that's awful, and turn it into something profitable and innovative. And that's where you shine the most, Phil, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So it starts with, tell me what you're trying to do. Why are you trying to do it? Where do you see yourself in 6, 12, 18 months from now? How are you going to get there? What's keeping you from getting there today?
Yep.
Basic information gathering that then empowers you to say, well, what if I had a way to get you there quicker, better, more efficiently? Would you be interested?
Right. And it sounds simple. People always, it's not easy, but it doesn't have to be overly complex. Right. And that's what I like about your style. So let me get into the meat and potatoes with folks, because I could talk to you forever, but we got 30 minutes. So you shared a pretty eye-opening statistic with me earlier. It was 70%, especially in SaaS and tech service companies, right? They fail in their first 5 years. Not because they're, like you said, not because they have bad products or services, but because they can't execute it properly in the marketplace, especially when the game changes and they get more competitive, right? And I know personal experience, tough pill to swallow, right? So what are these companies missing that's costing them their business?
So look at a lot of it. So with a pen, how many different pens are sold in the market today? There's a lot of them, right? So what makes one pen different from the other? Why am I interested in this pen versus a different pen? What a majority of them don't understand is the buyer. What is the buyer interested in? What's the problem that the buyer is encountering? What do they need to solve, and how do they want to solve it? And if I'm not understanding those things, how can I succeed, right? So I might have built the best pen ever, but if it doesn't align with what the market wants, then nobody's going to buy it. You're not going to get the understanding and awareness. And this is across all. So I focus a lot in SaaS and tech services, but pick the industry. It goes across a multitude of industries, from your local dry cleaner to a number of things. There's options that people have. Right. As I work with different clients, the one thing we start with is all problems are being solved. So you're not bringing something new, you're bringing something different. The car was invented in the late 1800s. The cars still exist today, and they have common features: 4 wheels, an engine, a steering wheel, seats. That stuff still is the same, but the way in which the car has evolved, the utility we have today, has transformed a lot.
Actually, incremental innovation, absolutely.
Yes.
And I have noticed that. See, through some of and I'm not bragging. We're giving this because we know folks out there are thinking this, and we want to make sure it's not over. Don't throw in the towel, right? Boxing, reference. That I added a 0 to my offerings, and people took it like hotcakes. Now that was a hard thing to do. You're like, well, the climate's bad. People are shoring up. No, and like you said, doing the research and really exploring this for an opportunity, it takes intention. So on that note, you mentioned this a lot, right? The counterintuitive and methods, right? Turning competitive threats into revenue opportunities. Some people might be like, well, it's not practical. I can't do it. It's too good to be true. So give us a real world example, without naming names, how this could play out.
So how it can play out is, the beginning part is you got to ask a lot of questions. You got to know, right? So I was working with a client in the manufacturing space, and there were 2 fronts to it. One is within my sales team, they wanted to go sell something. From the client side, they were saying, I just want to go buy something. Both misaligned in the way they're doing it. both needed a bit more understanding on the sides to ensure that there was alignment. So it started into the questions and asking that on the client side of helping them understand what they didn't know. So it actually took us getting together in a room. My rep was all ready to go make a presentation. I took his slide deck and I said, okay, let's take this out, this out, this out, and let's just focus on these 3 slides. And the focus was, help me understand why you want to do what you do, what do you anticipate for an outcome, and when do you need to achieve that outcome by? And it opened up a whole realm of other conversations because they hadn't thought about it in I say semi-structured, but it was really a structured way that then actually took us into better alignment. So the customer became more informed, the team became more informed, and now we were able to pull ourselves to saying, hey, we can solve this problem by the time you need to have it by. The competitive threat in this situation was other software companies are out there, but one of the bigger competitive threats that a lot of companies encounter, or a lot of that are selling, is do nothing. So they would have gotten paralyzed in do nothing because they couldn't find the right thing. But taking time to listen, learn, understand, I'm helping them better figure out what they're trying to do. Now, when we're aligning, we have a common view of where things are at. So the competition, not only the other providers, but I attack the biggest piece of the competition, which is do nothing.
I've been there. And sometimes, like for me, you said, let's take this out, that out, this out. I can see the Salesforce team going, how are we going to sell it if we take all that out? But you streamlined it. You're getting to the point, you're cutting out all the nonsense, and you're demonstrating your authority and expertise. Essentially, because your competition may be trying to sell, you're trying to solve problems, and they know that. And that's the key. That's why I liked you, because I was like, this guy's not trying to sell anything. He doesn't have to, right? You've heard me say this, right? The most attractive men and women at the singles bar don't need a sales pitch. They just need to be. And that's part of the branding marketing thing. So let me piggyback on that, right? Because you talked about this, your battle card framework. And folks, you can go, if you're wanting to learn more about this and maybe you're driving around, don't have a pencil, go to rapidgrowthservices.com. All right. He's got resources out there. You can tap into Phil, connect with him. And because right now, most people are having competitive issues. And don't try to solve it yourself. That's crazy. But go get somebody who can look from the outside in, who's objective and says, hey, here's what's happening. All right. Save your business, make the impact you're supposed to make. So the battle card framework, and I've seen it, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of good salespeople, they just need the right tools, right? They need the right tools to make it happen. So when you say, can you turn sales reps into closing, deal closing machines? What does that transformation actually look like, right? So how do you go from A to B? How do you go from I have the potential to actually have the skill?
Yep. So to become a closing machine, you have to go to the beginning part of the sales process. Again, things I've been talking about already are out knowledge. How much knowledge do you have? When you get down to the closing, it should not be a tough process. It should be actually much easier because at that point you're working through contracts or legal language, et cetera. The conversation on go, no go, am I going to buy from you? That's happened early in the activity, right? But if I don't have knowledge, and what we would focus on is I would develop my team was be an excellent communicator, number one. So there's a Franklin Covey book, Everyone Communicates Few Connect. That's a must read for my teams. The other would always read a book regarding behavioral, patterns within humans. Right? Malcolm Gladwell books, great books to learn from. Understand people. We're in the people business. So let me communicate with you. Let me understand what are your areas that you want to succeed in. What are your fears? Right? So if I start to do that and then I'm building an answer that aligns with that and takes away the risk, now I have a better chance to achieve the outcome you desire. And I become a closing machine because it's an easier aspect at that point, where I'm not necessarily arguing with you to buy from me. You want to buy from me.
Well, that separates the amateurs from the pros right there. It really does.
It does.
It really does, because you're you. Your service does what it does. You're customized. So you're not breaking yourself and what you do to make money, right? Like you're staying the oak tree in a sea of tumbleweeds. It's not an elusive concept. I'm going to do what I do. And if that's not a good fit, I'm not going to disservice my client or myself, right? Like, and that's what I like about you. If somebody sat down with you and they needed someone else or beforehand, you'll tell them that. And very few people will do that. And that's a master move, because then when they come back to you, now you're going to be able to do what you needed to do. And that's, go ahead.
Yeah. So a good example of that is, if you think back 2007, 2008, when we had the financial crisis. So the economy had come out of the .com. We started going in there in a positive way. All of a sudden, we started having budgets cut. You had layoffs that were occurring again. So projects that people were doing that were, in the 6 figures to 7 figures started to dissipate. When we get back to competitors still wanted those things. And most companies were saying, oh, you still got to go do this. And you were trying to force that square peg through the round hole. It wasn't going to work. The customer was saying, hey, I still want to do these things. They're still in business. They still have objectives. They got things they want to do. Why not come up with a plan that says, hey, here's what you want to do, but let's take an incremental or phased approach to it. Let's go take a piece here, and let's go take a piece here as budget becomes available. The benefit of that is you're along for the ride over time. And when the times get good again, they're going to turn to you and say, thanks for riding along with me. Thanks for not abandoning me when things get tough. Very applicable in today's economy. There's a lot of challenges, not only the economy and market forces and other things, but we've also, we got to figure out, how do we adjust? How do we go out there? How do we help people take that first step towards solving a problem? I don't have to solve it all at one time. I just got to take a step.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to mess with that. That was well said, because again, you're a high level pro. You heard the old adage, I always mess it up like Porky Pig, right? Over promise or over deliver. You know what the hell I'm trying to. So when you do that, and you can truly do that, like when I work with people, I select them based on those kind of things, right? Like, hey, likability, as much as the metrics of can I solve the problem. But what naturally happens is they might sign up for a $10,000 thing and get $50,000 in value because I don't care. And what happens is, and this is what I like about you, you don't have to be working on the marketing all the time, because all these clients are so thrilled. They go out there and tell people about you, and then they're intrigued because they're having problems, right? So it's never having bald people come into the hair salon. You have people who need haircuts and they go to the hair salon. And this is the simple foundation, folks. I want y'all to get this. I'm going to dive into a great question. Before I do, Mike King Biz Radio. Absolutely love our partnership. Phil, they put him on the Jumbotron when he goes to the ball games in Virginia. Nice. Oh, man, the guy pushes up his community, organizations, and businesses like no other. Mike King, thank you for the partnership, man. With the Hounds of Business, taking this out even further. It's like PB&J in the same jar, man. I'm still talking about it 20 years later. But thank you so much. And again, folks, if you're out there struggling, hey, don't do it alone. You have an impact to make in this world, right? Don't give up on it. The world needs it, and through your business, you can make it. So if you need the people, resource, and support to get it done, you can find us on YouTube, Hounds of Business. You can find us on LinkedIn, Mike Asherbrenner, the Redneck Connector, Hounds of Business on YouTube, or you can send us an old school carrier pigeon. I still take those, right? So we're over here with Phil. We're talking about being in this competitive market, not just surviving, but learning how to thrive, innovate, and really essentially dominate your space with authority. All right, that's what Phil has done, and he helps other people, especially in the tech arena, do that. So, Phil, I'm loving this convo. Man, we got to have a part 2 on my longer show, the Hounds of Business Live. But pricing has gotten really brutal. Everybody can find it. People have an excess of information, so they can go and find it, whether you hide it or not. They know your buyers. They know your competition pricing, all of that. So how do you win? How do you win those conversations when everything's out there? Again, kind of going back what you said, but people may not understand this.
So people buy based on the value they anticipate they're going to receive, right? So we all have thresholds. So I might want a Ferrari, but I can't afford one. Is it the right car for me? Is it not? Right? I was looking as I was talking about this earlier. The price for a Honda Civic. So the base price is $24,250 for their base LX. For their sports hybrid touring car is $31,950. Now, what's the difference between those two cars? Right? They fit different styles, different needs of the buyer themselves. Right? One car fits one. So you think about when you go out for a buying experience, you begin your investigation around safety and certain things about the car. But hey, I want to be a little bit more environmentally conscious, so I want to go get a hybrid. Well, I'm going to drive long distance, so I want more comfort. So okay, I want the better seats. That's the touring one, right? Now, what's my constraint? My constraint is budget. So I start looking at, lease or loan or whatever factors allow me. Can I afford that car to get into it? It's the same thing, right? You've got a lot of pricing, right? If I go out there, people put their pricing in the open, right? Hey, it costs this much, and they'll evaluate. First step is evaluate your offering versus somebody else. Well, why is theirs 10 and yours is 15 a month for this subscription? Ooh. Well, let me just help you understand what I'm going to allow you to do versus what you're going to get over here, right? And if I haven't articulated my value, not the features and functions, but the value, right? Because I can go down my list and I say, I got 10 things on my list. I only got 6. That's why we have a difference in price. But if I'm not allowing you or providing you the path to achieve the result you desire, then you devalue my product in your mind, which means you don't associate the cost to the value that you're going to receive. So it's very important, again, bringing it all back to that value that we touched on in the beginning. That goes all the way through to pricing.
Yeah, you hit on something that's powerful. I learned this the hard way, Phil. Perceived value and actual value, right? Business school and everything's teaching us to make value. But that perception, that's up to you. Because I couldn't believe adding a 0 to some of my offerings was the smart move. But it was because, just like you said, the high value clients were looking at it going, wow, it looks great, but why is it so low? It's not even in the range of acceptability in their minds, correct?
Yep.
And that perception is the problem. And then you can walk away if you're like me and go, oh, no, like, I don't have value. No, you're just not owning your own value. And this is why research and asking questions and really diving in isn't just an exercise that they teach you at school. This is where you plan and then you go do, right? And then you're equipped to handle problems. And this is why you're so good. This is why we're out here and say, listen, rapidgrowthservices.com, and check out, talk to Phil, have those conversations, because sometimes you can't see the forest from the trees, man. No. I can teach someone else and tell you all day, but when it comes to me, I make the same error. It's probably why chiropractors don't crack their own necks, Phil. I mean, I even have a money guy. Even though I'm a money guy, I'm me. I'm going to go spend more money than I need to, right? And so we always need the outside objective person, and that's the go-to. Well, who can help me in this, awful climate and changes? And hey, the Hound says Phil. That's where go talk to him. And so let's ask this: if someone's tuning in right now and they're losing deals to competitors, right? And they know they can outperform them. They know our value is good enough and we shouldn't be losing and bleeding business. What's one thing they could change starting tomorrow to get this on the right track other than call you?
So I'm going to touch on what you just said there is they believe their value. Your perspective of value is not important. It's their perspective of your value, right? So tell me how somebody values you, not how you value yourself. Because I could say, hey, I've got the best service for go-to-market in all of the world. But is that a solid statement, or is that my perspective? I need somebody else out there that has done business with me, somebody else to actually look at me and say, you're providing good quality service. They're the ones that establish my value, not me. And now, once I get that, it's what do I do with it? How do I harness that? How do I take that and replicate it? So if I'm working with a company that's struggling, I'm really looking for what is the value? Are you trying to do too much, right? Where does simplification enter the equation? And now how do I make sure the things that I'm doing go exactly following a line to make sure that the customer's getting as much perceived value as they can consume? Now it brings me back to how do I need to change my business to align with it?
See, in my mind, I said, if I didn't know what questions to ask, those questions, that's why I needed outside help, Phil. That's why I appreciate your knowledge base, because I'm not in this arena. I'm a business owner and a community leader who needs to know this, right? Like this. Yep. So let me ask you to look. If folks go to the website, man, we need to do a part 2 of this yesterday. rapidgrowthservices.com. So I'm gonna ask a question. Give us a couple minutes and then we'll close with where folks can find you and how they can get started. But again, your competitive intelligent toolkit, right? It's helping people double rates, and especially in this climate. Without giving away all the secrets, though, what's one piece of that toolkit that listeners could put to work now immediately?
So if you're going to look at it, your competitive toolkit, start with the why. And I always just start with that one question, and I can apply it to anything. So why the competitor? Why is the customer not buying from me? Why am I not gaining traction with my activities? So start to take that and orient it across different elements of your business, and then you have to be honest with it. And that's the hard part of it.
It is.
You've got to look at it, and you got to take your lenses off they're rose colored, and really be third party. Walt Disney was one of the best film critics, and when he made a movie, he would sit in the back of the theater, watch his own movie, and critique it. Phenomenal creator, but he was also a phenomenal critic. And we have to learn how to be critics of our own business. That's the one big thing.
Yeah. Do you want to feel good? Do you want your ego stroked, or do you want to win? That was the internal dialogue I had, Phil. I said, you know what? I got to be brutally honest. This is not about my feelings or anything. This is about my impact and a legacy. And if you're out there building a business and tuned into us, that's probably you too. You're out here trying to make a serious impact. You know, hey, how do I build a business that can give me the time, freedom of time and money, so I can go out there and help kids with underserved communities, right? I can do this and that. And that requires the ego to go in the pocket. So I love the real talk. I love your direct approach. You care, but you're going to help people, right? You're going to help guide them, painful or not. All right. But if you're here to win and grow a sustainable business to make an impact, hey, Phil, thank you for being that guy. Because I have it. There's a reason we hadn't had this show in 3 years, because I couldn't find nobody I could put up here and go, dadgummit. And now we're in this climate, and you are that guy. So thank you personally for me, because you gave me some great insights that really helped, get me unstuck in this new climate with everything changing so fast. And so other than your website, rapidgrowthservices.com, where is there anything else people can find, or can they go there to book with you? What can they expect?
Yeah, they can book on there, on LinkedIn. You can go and find my profile. Feel free to send me a message. I'm open for having conversations, helping you understand where you're at. What are you looking for? Give you more understanding about how we work. Everything we do is collaborative. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to outsource something to you. You bring me back a finished product. You want to have ownership. You want to have knowledge. You want to have understanding. So we work with you on helping you develop the skills. So as you go into the future around your go-to-market and evaluating whether it's competitive aspects, pricing, other things, you now have a set of tools in your toolkit that you can apply to it. So we want to leave people in a better position than when they started with us.
It's all I got to hear, folks. Here's our style. Don't say yes and no to things you don't know the information yet. If you don't know go talk to Phil. If you're having trouble with this, go have the convo, right? Get educated, then make an informed decision. That's our mantra. So again, personally, thank you, Phil. Appreciate you. Love having you in the pack. Folks, go out there, get the resources at rapidgrowthservices.com. And man, don't do this stuff alone. All right. But no defense. All right. No reactionary. None of that. Offense. How do we turn this dog poo into fertilizer, something profitable? And that way is Phil T right here. So
don't be a 70%er, right? You want to be in that 30%er success.
That's right. If there's traffic jams, you need to call Phil, because there's no traffic jams when you keep going up and up. All right. It gets less traffic jams. So that's the hallmark. If you feel like you're by yourself, you're graduating to new expansion levels. All right. So thank you, Phil. Thank you for that. Folks, go check out the framework. And thank you, Hounds. Thank you for supporting each other, especially during the hard times. And again, Mike King, love the partnership, man. We can do things and push each other up and help people out there. Thank you for the opportunity. Phil, have a great day. Folks, we'll see you on the next one. And oh, yeah, Ovi. Hey, a new viewer. Thank you, my friend. Catch in. We have the Hounds of Business tonight at 7 p.m. So folks watching live, join us for that panel. We're going to give you some more insights on how to dominate and thrive in this challenging economy. So we'll see you on the next one, folks. Have a good one.
Thanks, Mike.
I like the princess way, Phil. You don't have to do that, though. Y'all have a good one. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.